Should I just say it?
Say it.
Have you ever drank because there's people you don't like around you?
Yes.
Me too.
Audio Jungle.
Hello there, experts. And welcome back to another episode of Experts About Nothing.
Hello there, Isabel.
All right, we're very excited. We have a interesting topic today. Maybe a little spicy, a little fun. But before we get started, we got to do our not so subtle plug to follow the pod on Spotify and Apple, and then follow us on Instagram.
And TikTok.
We're out here on all of the social media.
We're trying. We're really
platforms,
trying.
But big love to every content creator out there because this is no joke.
No joke. I feel like April was our month of lull.
It was a lull month of us not being on the ball.
No, so sorry.
Yeah.
Travel,
work, things have been picking up,
we're
we're getting back on track. So follow us. We have some really exciting episodes coming up. I'm actually really hyped.
I'm really excited. We did a full-on experts offsite yesterday, as we'd like to tell all of our friends.
We've been marketing this as an experts offsite. Mind you, we went to 6 different coffee shops. All of them were packed. Ended up going to kind of the beatest one. And it was pouring rain the entire day yesterday.
Literally damp the entire duration. Some girl's hair was flopping in my face the whole time.
Diksha and I were sitting across from each other, and every 5 seconds, this girl's hair would smack Diksha in the face, and I was cracking up.
Bewildered every time.
I was like, oh my God.
It's like whiplash every time.
So crazy. I was uncomfortable for like 12 hours yesterday.
I mean, also, me and Priya were sitting approximately 2 inches away from each other's faces while discussing these nice deep topics.
It was such an intimate, interesting experience, but we really had a productive day.
And we marketed our entire one-on-one day and dinner as an offsite, which is kind of hilarious.
It's so funny. We were like, oh my God, yeah, let's like get an appetizer because we're at an offsite. Mind you, what happened at the end? We split the bill.
Fully expensed by the experts.
Personal credit card. It was hype and kind of gross, but fun.
But it was a fun experience. And now we're ready to talk about our fascinating topic today, which is our relationship with alcohol. I feel like everyone's relationship with alcohol changes vastly from, some people's, from like college, maybe high school if you were risque back then, but typically college to post-grad, and now as 26 and 27-year-olds.
It's Diksha's birth month.
Almost ending, yeah, but now I'm literally having trouble saying I'm 27. Every time I'm like, I'm 26. Oh, 7. Literally every time now. And I'm like, oh, shit. But yeah, so basically we just want to talk about how our relationship with alcohol has changed and how we're impacted by it in our adult lives, and also comparing it to how we used to treat it.
Yep.
So yeah, we just wanted to have a candid discussion about that, and we'll just dive right in.
I know. Welcome to the boozy episode. The booze episode. Okay. Okay. So to kick it off, we can chat about how and why we started drinking, and I feel like it's the same story for both of us.
Yeah.
We rolled into college and we're like, time to turn up. Like,
did you drink the first day of college?
What was it? Block party?
Yeah.
I think so, but like, okay, here's the thing. I was not cool in high school. I did not really drink in high school at all. And then when I got to college, I was like, okay, I'm still kind of nervous. Like, I was like scared to drink because I didn't really know what it would do to me.
Yeah.
And I did see people in my high school getting like turned all the time, and sometimes I was like, oh, this is kind of scary to like be. I went to like 1 or 2 parties, but I don't think I drank at them. So I would.
You went to parties? Man, I was so lame. I did nothing.
They were like debate team parties.
Okay, but like dead ass, I went to 0 parties and I did not have a sip of alcohol in
high school period.
At all. Yeah.
It was nothing. It was like actually nothing. I just rolled up to a party and some people were drinking and I didn't. I kind of would like be able to see everything from a sober perspective.
Right.
And be like, this is kind of terrifying and everyone's acting crazy, especially when high schoolers are drinking.
Yeah.
It's like, you're crazy. And so I remember block party, everyone was out on the streets and I maybe had
for
like
context, next block party at UVA is basically the first weekend before classes start.
Yeah.
And that's like typically when all the freshmen moved in, all the upperclassmen came back to campus, and we'd all just kind of mess around like before classes even started. And it was very lit.
It was lit. All the like frats would throw parties and you would just go to
frat row.
That row of houses and then house hop and go to different parties. And it was fun, but I don't think I was actually drunk. I think I thought I was because I just like didn't know what I was doing. And I remember our freshman year, it was like pouring rain. It wasn't actually that fun.
Yeah, it was raining, but like we all still went out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was like for the principal. Like we have to in college.
I know.
And it was really interesting. I vividly remember my first drink, and it was horrible. It was literally just like Natty Light.
Ew. Oh no.
I mean, like, what else is there in frats? Like, that's what that is. And I had it, and I was like, this is horrible. And I feel like freshman year, whenever the first year is that you start drinking alcohol, it is the biggest fucking wake-up call.
Yeah.
Because, frankly, I was drinking aggressively, like, that entire first semester. And I was like, this is not necessary. I think in college, first and second year was like, we were just drinking all the time. And it was like very confusing.
It was really confusing. It's like everything's at your disposal all at once.
Yeah.
And especially from our upbringing that was pretty sheltered. Like for the most part, I was not exposed to really anything. And then you come in and you're like, whoa, parties every day of the week. Literally any day you would want to drink, you could. You know what I mean? Like everything is at your disposal. And it's also just like that is the main avenue of you making friends and like meeting people, because I don't know, like I mean I did meet people in my classes and stuff, but like going out, it's pitched to you as the main avenue of making your friend group.
Yeah. And also I guess like meeting people outside of your friend group. I feel like even once we had a friend group, like we would still make more friends as we like went out and saw people constantly as we hung out. It's really interesting because the first couple years of college, when alcohol was less accessible to us than third and fourth year when everyone started turning 21, it was more exciting to drink. Because when you're underage, shit becomes hype.
Yeah, it's all like a thrill.
It's all a thrill. It's like, well, shouldn't be doing this. But
I am. I know.
It's like hype in that way. Like you feel kind of bad while doing it. But then once it becomes accessible to you, I feel like it was like the downhill. I was like, I don't really feel like drinking as much, whatever.
Oh, yeah. The moment you turn 21, you're like, yeah, this is normal and not necessary. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just fully goes away.
But that's not to say I didn't get messed up third and fourth year. But I think the volume I drank was definitely less, and the amount of times I would go out was definitely less. And I think that also correlated to like course load and stuff. But still, generally when you're underage, it's hype because it's this elusive thing that you can't do.
Another big part of this, at least personally for me, is that when I first started drinking, it did not affect me that much. Like, I could wake up the next day and be like, okay, time to go to my 8 a.m. class. And I would be able to get up and go.
Yeah.
And then I remember starting like third year. That's when it was like, wait, I am dying. That's when the real hangover started hitting. And so I was like, I cannot do that. I literally can't physically do this often because it would just debilitate me.
Yeah.
Like once I had to account for actually like being hungover, I was like, oh, there's serious ramifications for going out and acting crazy and having to reel yourself back in the next day and like trying to have a productive day. You literally can't when you're hungover.
I mean, it's mesmerizing to me how we even did this in college, because I'm like, I would actually be so debilitated, unwell, and unproductive now. But then back then, we were hauling ass to the library. It'd be like,
I know. You just
wake
wake up and be
finals,
like, okay.
and then we'd have to like go.
Literally right before the week of finals, because you have a week off just to study. Like everyone would go out that weekend and then be like, oh, I have a final on Monday.
Yeah.
Time to study and be in the library for 48 hours. And I was like, how did we do that? But I think your bodies are just like built different when you're younger and they're not as used to alcohol maybe. So it's like easier to bounce back. I don't know. I don't understand the science of
science.
like,
please let us know if anyone knows the true science behind it. Because
now I think we all have actual serious alcohol intolerance, so that's a different issue.
Yeah, I feel like that's basically our background about how alcohol was for us when we first started. And then post-grad, I think things just changed dramatically just because, first of all, you can buy your own alcohol. Most of us are like...
And it's not cheap anymore.
It's not cheap. Especially if you want, like, not Burnett's.
Right.
Ew. And generally, some of us are living alone, and it just is so much easier to decide on your own when you're drinking, when you're not, and you can kind of make those choices for yourself. Whereas I feel like sometimes people that like live at home, obviously they can't be like drinking every day in front of their parents. Like, it's not a cute vibe, and for some prohibited. So it's balancing that and like figuring out your flow with alcohol is, I think it takes a little bit of time.
It takes time. And I remember directly post-grad, when I first trained in London and then first moved to the city, it still was a huge part of life. It still almost felt like just an extension of college, and people were going out 3 times a week. Especially when I was in London and I had really no friends, I was like, okay, I need to be like out at these events and at these parties because I have no friends and I need to make friends here.
Yeah, to meet people. It makes sense.
But like everyone was kind of still drinking pretty aggressively. Also, the European alcohol culture is crazy. Even our directors, managers, MDs, like all these people would be like, 3 p.m., let's roll to a happy hour, and everyone's like drinking from 3 to 8 p.m. and like that's just how they're built there, and they actually... They don't have a meal without alcohol. Such a cultural lifestyle. I'm like, how? Oh my God. I remember after the first week of my orientation, I was like, I actually can't do this. And I just started being like, I'm not going out. And I think that like started to bleed into how alcohol fits into work life. It's a really interesting thing that I know I've had to navigate because like in college, you're drinking, but you're just drinking with your friends. Like, everyone's acting like a degenerate. So.
Yeah, like, how you're perceived is kind of on the back burner a little bit. Because it's like, these are all your besties. It's
in
like,
fact,
fine.
Everyone loses all of their dignity every day.
Right.
And then you're like, wait, there's all this alcohol at my disposal, and everyone's, like, still drinking, but I'm at a work event, and I can't be looking crazy.
Yeah.
Also, people just have different tolerances to alcohol, and I think I just had to have like a wake-up call with myself the first year I started working, where I was like, I am not a 40-year-old man. I am a 5'1" female. I can't drink this much and I can't hang out this much, and like even if I'm at these happy hours or networking events or whatever, like just because everyone's having like 6 drinks, that can't be me.
Yeah.
So you got to find a new way to like navigate these situations.
Yeah. With me, when I go to work events, a lot of people obviously would be your age. The companies that we work at, we were lucky to have a lot of people that were in our age group. And obviously, like when you're surrounded by your age group, it kind of takes you back to college a little bit. Then it's like the wake-up calls when you have managers around, when you have people that are not your age group and like senior leadership around. And it's like, wait, you don't want to look or smell like alcohol or anything like that around those people. And personally, like I don't love going to work events all the time because a lot of them are heavily alcohol focused. And I think over time I realized I literally don't enjoy drinking that much and like drinking that often. But in the beginning, I felt like I had to. And while I was developing, you know, my initial reputation at the company I work in and everything, I was like going to things. But now I have this newfound like energy when I go to these work events where I'm like, I will have 1 or 2 if I like the beverages. And then after that, I'm just going to switch to a Coke or a Sprite and then vibe, just because I want to feel the effects of being looser, which I do have with 1 or 2 drinks. But then after that point, I just start getting stressed, you know, like, so I'm getting anxious while I'm drinking, and I'm like, there's no need for that. And I just like focus on eating and drinking like a soda or a water or whatever is in my hand, but not alcoholic. And I feel like that just helps me keep within my limits, not get stressed that like maybe I'm stepping over, because there are some days you do not know what people are pouring in your drinks. We actually have no idea how much alcohol goes into our drinks because we see ice, we see them pouring. We're like, oh, maybe that's a little bit more than a shot. Like, you don't know. And at different places also, there's been times where we've had 2-3 drinks and then we're hung over so badly the next day.
You're like, what even happened?
What happened?
I don't understand.
Yeah. And I think it's very important to just like give yourself space, like before drinking a lot, to just actually see what's happening to you. Otherwise, it'll hit you like a truck. And then you can't take yourself out of that situation.
Yourself back
once you're already gone, it's like gone. You're done.
Yeah, you're done.
So I think it's just like finding that balance and then like also figuring out your limits there. And just, like, waiting to actually see the effects on you.
Yeah, I know. I think especially for the work events, I go into them already with, like, some level of anxiety because you're not in your comfort zone with, like, your friends.
Right.
And so sometimes it's easy to turn to alcohol to just numb yourself, really. Like, numb the anxiety and, like, numb the, like, social awkwardness that you might feel around your coworkers.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of dangerous because you're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to, like, drink and now I feel better. You don't even notice that you're leaning on alcohol to get through this event. That happened to me once or twice, and I was like, whoa, I need to not do that, and I need to be really aware of what I'm doing, because then, maybe it'll make you feel good the first 30 minutes of this event, but then if you do feel like you're past your limit, then you're kind of freaking out the rest of the time trying to, like, act normal with your coworkers. So I think I have a similar strategy. Drink 1 or 2 drinks and then just kind of vibe. And I'm not even a big soda person, so I literally just will be like, I'm gonna just chug water. Also, like, leave early. I'm a big proponent of that in any situation.
Yeah.
But that has been my strategy where it's like, sometimes you have to show face. Again, I'm similar to you where work events are not my favorite thing to, like, be out on the town until, like, late at night with my coworkers. So I'm just gonna, like, show face, maybe, like, chat with a couple people and then be like, bye. Don't feel bad for wanting to just leave if you're tired. I feel like sometimes when you're tired, you're like, oh, I have to drink more just to, like, gain energy and, like, stay out. But instead of that, if you're just like, okay, I think I've hit my limit, and you don't need to feel bad for just, like, wanting to go home and rest.
Yeah,
you know?
if you're tired, just leave. It's better than making yourself stay out and then having a horrible next day, especially if it's a work day and you're like,
I know, and then you have to, like, wake up and work.
Which most times it is a work day. So, facts. Okay, so the next scenario where we're drinking, Priya, is what?
Dating. My favorite thing. So dating culture is another big, interesting thing to navigate your relationship with alcohol. Basically, every single date is getting a drink. That is 80% of the way that people facilitate meeting you. It's interesting because this is the context where, I do think having a drink is beneficial when you're meeting a complete stranger in this kind of awkward situation where it's like a date. Like, dates are just inherently awkward, at least that's my perspective. And I'm like, having like one drink maybe makes it easier for you to like get your walls down and communicate with each other. But it becomes painful when you are actively looking for a relationship and maybe you have to go on like a few dates a week or something. And then you're like, damn, I got to drink every day. I don't want to do that. So not that I have this figured out, but like, I think for me, similar rule to the work events, like I'm not going to drink more than 2 drinks. I just cap it at that. And also space them out. I think it's easy to get into a fear spiral where you're like, oh my God, I have to go on a date every single day. Quantity of people is how I'm going to meet someone, which could be true. But also, like, if you are debilitated by drinking every single day, you're not going to be going into a date with your best foot forward. You're going to kind of be busted. And so the weeks that I have overexerted myself and like tried to meet like a bunch of different people in the same week, I'm like so burnt out by the end that it's not productive. So
I also have another thought that maybe could help you. I have no idea. But during a date, if you could space them out a little bit longer, like basically like say like you're on a 2-hour date, if you like truly do have one every hour, even if the person you're drinking with is drinking maybe faster, it's okay if they want to get another drink. If you're still working on a drink, then it's like kind of a great scenario because you're drinking less, but then they can continue drinking if they want, and it's like a normal vibe, but you're focused more on the conversation. I almost feel like that's a sign of maturity if you're not on a date getting absolutely hammered.
Like, I feel like that is what I do. Usually I'm just like, I'm good. Feel free to get something else if you want, but I'm not going to, like, get anything else. And I just try to, like, sip things slowly and, like, be, you know, more aware in that situation, especially because you are meeting someone new. It's also a safety thing. Like, you want to make sure that you're
absolutely
of your right mind while you're meeting a stranger. So, it's interesting, but I have been on, like, a few first dates where there's like no drinking, and I don't know, I haven't had a situation where that feels like amazing, because it's just like this really intense level of awkwardness. But maybe it's just the wrong people, so who knows. But yeah, I think it is tough, especially in a city like New York where so much of the culture is centered around alcohol. And so if you are trying to cut back on drinking, but you're single and you're trying to date, it's a really confusing thing to like navigate. But yeah, my only thing that I've found to work for me is just like spacing out, 1, the drinks, and 2, the actual dates themselves.
Love. Okay. And next we have parties / just hanging out with friends. And I think what we mean by this is mainly just like normal weekends where you just want to spend time with your homies. And yeah, I mean, facts. I think the best nights I have where it's like literally a random Friday or Saturday and we all just are in the vibe to
like go out,
do something. Have some fun. And typically in our friend group, those nights do entail drinking, but I do feel like there's ways to control that. And I think honestly, up until recently, I didn't really acknowledge that 100%. Like when I was out on the town, if someone's like, "Oh, am I gonna drink?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I just say, "Yeah, for sure." And then like by the end of it, I'm like 8 drinks in, and I'm like, "Whoa, why did I do that?" Because then I'm debilitated the next day. My new method is if you have a drink, you are most definitely having a full glass of water, like at least shortly after. Like, and I think it's just so important because you will still feel drunk, but you will be so happy you drank that water later. And I think that has been saving me. And this, I feel like, also kind of goes along with celebrations. When we're celebrating anything, a birthday, a promotion, someone's weddings, engagements, like all of those things, my first vibe goes to, okay, we're going to throw down, you know? And it's like a bad first instinct, but like, I feel like everyone's mind kind of goes to, okay, we're going to throw down.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like that, but like even if it is like that, I genuinely feel like I have only now cracked the code onto how to handle those situations. We just have to know when it's enough. Or like we have to know how to balance it among people being like, okay, shots. Especially when you're in these scenarios where you're celebrating something, it's like you don't want to be the buzzkill of a big group of people. And, like, if you say yes, that's totally fine. But then one thing that I do, I try to not drink a lot separate from the group shots and the group drinks and the group cheers. You know what I mean? I will either just leave the drink down because if it's, like, an event or something, it's probably, like, an open bar situation. I'll just, like, keep a drink at the table. But I won't sip it until someone's, like, cheers or whatever. Because those things happen so often.
I know.
So I'm like, okay, I'd rather just participate in the group stuff than, like, having drinks separate from the group stuff and then also having the group stuff and then also
it's
feeling
like double
messed up.
What you want to do.
Yeah. I think it gets difficult because sometimes there's girls and boys in the group that are like doing both aggressively and you're like, oh, hell yeah. And you're like kind of hyped because they're doing it and you want to do it. And it's like, wait, but like your body cannot handle that. I went to Mexico for 8 days, a week-long vacation, like 4 days in Mexico City, 4 days in Cancun. And there was a lot of drinking. We went to an all-inclusive resort in Cancun. And I was not hungover one single day of this trip.
That's insane.
And I drank every single day. I was really scared about the wedding event specifically because it's hot. It's like free alcohol absolutely everywhere you go. And we were at like a beautiful event. So I was like, I feel like I have triple whammy. But even within the temptation, I was like, I'm having a great time. But I'm also not chugging these drinks down. And I'm like drinking a lot of water and I feel amazing. And I just said no to some things. Like, for example, post-reception night, I was beat up and my room was absolutely destroyed with like Indian clothes everywhere, American clothes, swimsuits, like everything. And I was like, listen, I need to go. It's 1 a.m. and I need to pack and we're leaving at 6. So I was like, I don't think I need to go out again. And I had a great time here. So I'm going to be okay with the fact that I don't need to go.
Right.
I think the FOMO also decreases as you get older. And like you're just satisfied with doing your own thing. Feeling empowered to just go when you need to is one of the biggest things I've learned on my drinking journey. When you're done, be done.
Yeah. I am the biggest fan of the Irish exit or even just the vocal exit because you really don't need to justify it to anyone. Just roll. My new hack is I just have the Uber called. And then I announce to everyone that I'm leaving so that no one can be like, no. I'm like, no, it's here, bye. Like, and then I'm just out so that I don't need to worry about it. Because it is like, especially when you're with a group of friends that you love and you want to hang out with, you can easily get persuaded into staying. And so...
And part of you wants to.
But then you know that like it's better for you to just go home early, rest, do whatever you need to do. If getting yourself out of the situation is what you need to do to not be like tempted to drink, that's so okay. The problem with drinking is that it's so addictive and tempting. Also, when you're in a really hype environment, there's a weird layer of competitive energy.
There is.
Because they're like, come on, I've had like 5 drinks, you're not gonna have another one, blah, 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 you're not gonna celebrate with me. Like, it's like peer pressure, competition. There's just so many ways you can get caught up in this toxic spiral of just being like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna run it regardless of how this is gonna affect me.
Yeah.
Being somewhat disciplined with yourself is something you definitely learn with time. And I think only now are we like, oh, this is my boundary. I cannot do this anymore. I'm gonna go. And being really content with like, oh, I had a great night up until this point, and I would rather like keep it a great night than have it be a crappy night because I'm too turned. You know,
Absolutely.
like it can fully go down a slippery slope where you're actually just not going to be having fun anymore.
Yeah, a good night can turn a bad night really quickly.
So quick,
with, like,
way too quick.
With the wrong amount of alcohol.
Right,
Absolutely.
that's like the main factor that can screw it up. So yeah, I completely agree. Having just like those check-ins with yourself is probably the best way to limit that. I think celebrations are really hard because, yeah, you want to have a good time with everyone.
Yeah.
Usually those are also the events where, like, the drinks are good and, like, I don't know, just the
also,
environment.
you're seeing people that you haven't seen in a long time. I think that's, like, the biggest thing with celebrations. It's like, I don't see these people very often. We all live in different places. I want to have a good time with you guys and make solid, hilarious memories.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's hard to, like, limit yourself in those situations. And so that's a different ballgame. But something that I have been trying to do is like, okay, if it's just like a hangout at someone's house, like a game night, or, you know, we're just getting like dinner, do I need to be drinking? Just maybe just asking myself that question where it's like, even if I'm having 2 or 3 drinks, like, is that necessary? Like, would that really add that much value to this game night experience for me? No, it doesn't. I don't think me having like 2 glasses of wine at my friend's apartment makes the biggest difference in how fun I've had. And so like, why do I even need to be doing this? Not that I eliminate it 100% of the time. That's not the case.
Sometimes we just want a drink, which is totally
fine. But like, I think maybe just being a little more inquisitive about it helps me be like, oh, maybe I just really don't need this.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good. Cause like at the end of the day, we'll get into this, but like alcohol's not good for you, period. Like
Facts.
1 drink, 10 drinks, it's not good for your body, especially as we're getting older. I think like health is such a more prominent thing in our lives. Like when we were in college, you're not really thinking about the effects of alcohol on your long-term health. You're just trying to
that is the last thing
around. You're not thinking about your mental, physical, or emotional health ever for 4 years, okay? That I can guarantee. And so now when I'm like thinking about, oh, what are my goals? Like I want to work out in the morning. Even if I have 2 drinks, I'm not going to feel compelled to do that.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is more prevalent. And I think asking those questions just makes it easier to choose the occasions that you want to drink in. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean completely eliminating alcohol. It just means being a little bit more like, oh, I know that next week I have this engagement party and I'm going to want to enjoy myself. So this week I don't really need to drink that much. It just balances it out and it makes me physically feel so much better.
Facts. So to sum that up, peer pressure is out, ladies and gents.
Peer pressure is so last season. And I just think if someone's peer pressuring you, what my new strategy is just 1, just ignore it. And 2, just be like, enjoy. I'm like, you know what? You seem to be having an amazing time. And cheers to that.
Facts.
Or literally lie. I learned this from Avanti. She's like, cheers, everyone. Puts on a big show. And then she just like pours her drink out or like...
Or puts it to the side.
Puts it to the side. She's just like, I'm not even going to have the conversation of, you know, trying to explain. Because explaining to a drunk person why you don't want to drink is like really annoying.
Talking to a wall.
It's like talking to a wall. Like, they're not going to understand. They're going to be like, come on. Blah. Like, I don't even want to have... this interaction. So like literally be like, yeah, woohoo, cheers, and just like literally don't drink it.
Yeah. Oh my God. And to tag on to that, I think something that's really interesting that I've recently started doing is if there is a type of alcohol that I do not like. Example, tequila. In Mexico, everyone was popping tequila shots left and right. And I was like, listen, I know I'm going to immediately want to buck upon taking this. And there's no part of me that wants to take this shot. I'll either ask for something different or I will take the shot, put it down, and sip my normal drink.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like better in that situation because I still have the cheers moment with a similar looking drink. Put it down, sip my own thing. Someone else will drink it if they want. Otherwise, it's fine.
Yeah. I know. Also, it's hard to get into that mentality because especially in college, I think it was like, you can't waste any alcohol. Like, we're paying money for this. Like, it was such a, like, no alcohol left behind mentality. Toxic, gross. But, like, that was the vibe.
Yeah.
And so it kind of is hard to uncondition yourself out of it. Like, weirdly, I'm like, oh, I cannot eat the rest of my plate of food.
But I have to finish
if I have a glass
drink.
of wine, I need to finish it before I leave the table. Why? It's the
Yeah.
same amount of money. If you're cool with leaving half your shit on your plate, leave half the drink. So I'm just like, we are not in a college mentality anymore. And sometimes if you have to waste money to make yourself feel better, like, lesson learned, just don't get the drink next time.
Yeah.
You know,
save
like,
more money.
It'll still hurt that you wasted money, but, like,
At least your body won't be hurting.
your body won't be hurting, and you've learned your lesson to, like, not get drinks that you don't need. Yeah, and then kind of getting into that, like, health conversation and how much alcohol actually affects our bodies. It's something I've just been learning more about recently. I listened to this podcast on the Huberman Lab podcast where he had Dr. Sarah Godfrey on there, and first of all, I highly recommend this episode. It was like...
We'll link it.
Yeah, we'll link it, and it is mind-blowing, especially if you're a woman. I might have mentioned this one before, but I followed her on Instagram after that pod, and she posts a ton of relevant content specifically catered around female health. And one of the things that I found really interesting, she, like, posted this quote that was like, women are more vulnerable to alcohol's adverse effects compared to men because we have more fat and less water. And so you're more likely to experience neurotoxicity, liver damage, heart disease, cancer, like really hardcore health problems are more likely to happen with women who drink alcohol versus men. And that was just really a wake-up call to me because I was like, our bodies are actually just different than male bodies. We just have these random standards that people pretend to be universal when the effects of them are not universal at all and have way more debilitating effects on women than men. And it's yet another unfair thing in the world. But, like, that education, I think, is important, and, like, it's something that I'm just trying to, like, think more about and learn more about, because, yeah, we're all in this, like, YOLO, stay present mentality, but, like, 10 years from now, I don't want to have health shit going on because of my relationship with alcohol, you know, of all things. Like, that just seems ridiculous to me, and I think that, like, makes sense because so many of our friends who are girls after drinking have way worse effects than the guys we know post-drinking. You can just see that evidence in just, like, day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And it also really affects your mental health. That is another big major red flag to me recently is, like, oh, we have, like, a big night out or whatever, and then, like, a couple of days later, I'm like, man, why am I in this mental funk of having, like, kind of anxiety and, like, feeling just low vibrations, like, every day? And it's because alcohol is literally a depressant. The after effects of drinking alcohol is you can get depressed. And that's why it's so addictive, because you want to, like, keep drinking because you don't want to experience the depression that comes after it. And I think I just have, like, noticed that so much more. And when I think back to college and so many of, like, the mental health issues that all of us had, they were probably so exacerbated by the amount of alcohol we were drinking.
I mean,
weekly.
Definitely. I feel like with the stress of college and honestly life too afterwards, it's like sometimes alcohol is, like, easy to be like, I need to relax. And, like, you'll get into the habit of resorting to alcohol to relax, and then it'll be, like, a constant need to, like, have a little bit more. I never think that, like, we've ever been addicted to alcohol because we very quickly regret our choices whenever we see one sign of a hangover.
Right.
But I am the most depressed when I'm browned or blacked out. Like, luckily it doesn't happen too often.
Right.
But it's like when it does, I'm like, damn, like, I'm really upset. First, because I hate not remembering what I was up to. Like, if I am conscious and walking around this earth, I need to know what I've been doing.
What I'm doing.
And who I've been talking to and what I've been saying and like how I've been acting. Genuinely, there's nothing that gives me the biggest ick about myself than being blackout or browned out. And the other bummer is I was probably having a really good time and I don't remember any of it. So it's like the next day when I'm feeling horrible, it's like, what did I even do that for? I don't even remember having a good time. So it's like I just wake up feeling horrible and I'm like, even a fun event, I forget. The older I get, the more I'm trying to conserve my memories of this stuff. And I just want to prioritize having the memory over, you know, having the satisfaction knowing that you did one more group shot that you probably shouldn't have done.
Right. That's so key. Overthinking, oh my God. Like, there's just no worse feeling than having anxiety over what you said or what you did when you're drunk. Like, it's top 5 worst feelings. Like, I hate that. It gives me the worst ick about myself. And you're like, oh, like, I probably, like, came off this certain type of way or I did things that I didn't want to do. And, like, that to me is so much of a shittier feeling than the benefit of having 5 minutes of fun. I don't want to be rebounding thoughts about something for, like, days. And over 30 minutes.
I am the number one perpetrator of waking up, running into my friend's or P's room and being like, oh my God, was I embarrassing? What did I do? And then I'm like, yeah, I probably was embarrassing if I don't fucking remember anything.
Chances are if you wake up and are asking that question,
you probably were. And the thing is, I have to experience this every time I'm blackout because I have anxiety that I was way too embarrassing. And I'm like, I need to know what I was doing. But chances are you were not cute. So
you might not have been embarrassing, but you definitely weren't cute.
You weren't cute.
You were definitely not a cute person. And I am just trying to limit those experiences from here on out. Like, that's the goal. It's like, why do this to myself? There's enough shit that's getting done to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't need to be adding additional miserable shit in my life. So
that's so facts. And I think that kind of just goes to our last point of finding our balance. And that's kind of where we are both at today. And I genuinely feel like the more I grow up, the better my relationship with alcohol is becoming because I am more conscious about how I want to be. I feel like if you just kind of let alcohol just kind of like guide you, you just kind of go along with the flow, the less control over it you're going to have. And I think the more you grow up and like are actively making choices of when to and when to not, it is very empowering. I truly feel like these are the times that'll build your habits for the long run, especially because now we're kind of growing out of that phase of like immediate post-grad where you have access to money, resources, friends, like big cities and stuff. And you're like, now we've had all that. We've had those experiences. So it's like, are we going to drink a lot a couple times? Yeah, but we don't feel the need to always do that as our number one source of entertainment and winding down.
The big thing about growing older is hopefully you become more and more self-aware.
Yeah.
And you can think about these things a little bit more productively. Like, I think in college and like when we were younger, we would just write it off, be like, oh, I got too drunk that night, whatever. But now we're like, why did I do that? Of course, it's anxiety and some shame linked to it, but maybe you can also just question, like, why, oh, maybe I'm using this to numb this other thing that's bothering me, and I need to deal with that. You know what I mean? So, like, I think we just have more awareness of our own actions and are more open to having, like, a dialogue with ourselves, which is more productive. Another thing that really helps me find that balance and understand when I choose to drink is understanding that it's actually a choice. Like, I have a choice in this matter. I can still have fun when I'm not drinking. No relationships of mine are going to be affected because I didn't drink or did drink. You know what I mean? Like, I think almost there's this anxiety when you're younger where you're like, oh, people aren't going to think I'm cool if I don't drink. They're not going to want to be my friend or something. And it's like, now you're like, if someone doesn't want to be my friend because I'm not drinking, like, that is, I don't want to be their friend. That's not something that should be judging people's character. So yeah, I'm like, do I really need to be doing this? Do I want to be doing this? Is this in line with like my longer term goals and what I want to get done this week?
My weekly goals.
Yeah, exactly. My weekly goals, my next day. Is this the choice that I want to be doing? Because I think we understand now that every choice we make has a cost and a benefit. If you choose not to drink, the cost is like, oh, maybe you're not having like a lit time, but the benefit is I'm going to guaranteed be feeling good tomorrow morning.
Oh my God. And there was something that just came to my mind. Kind of more of a hot tea, but
Wait, like your like a favorite?
Not at all. It's just a hot tea question.
Okay, what is it?
Should I just say it?
Say it.
Have you ever drank because there's people you don't like around you?
Yes.
Me too. And I feel like some of the times where I get really fucked up is because there's people that I don't like that are around me.
I know. I have done that.
Yeah.
And that gives me the ick.
It gives me the ick because I'm like, why would I let anyone have that power over me to like
let
make
alone
me,
a person that I don't even like.
to make me make choices for myself that are bad. Because obviously when you walk into a room and maybe there's like people that you just don't vibe with, you're like, I need a drink to like take the edge off because I need to spend time with these people right now. And I don't necessarily want to be here doing that with them, but I can't avoid it. I think it's such a balancing act because you're like, I also can't afford to embarrass myself for these people at the same time. Something I'm practicing actively is even if there's a room full of people that I maybe do not love, do not get along with 100%, I need to be more accepting of that and less resorting to alcohol to like get me through any type of situation. It's a
cop-out. One of the brilliant things about alcohol is like it's an excuse. So you could just be like, oh, I was like acting this type of way because I was drunk, like whatever. And as you grow older, you're like, there is no excuse. You chose to get drunk like that. So any degenerate actions you did after that, you have to own up to. And like alcohol can't be like a write-off.
If you say something fucked up, if you do something messed up, that is you doing that, period. You made the choice to add alcohol to the mix.
It's tough because you have to own up to it. And 100%, I think that is one of the big reasons why like people do drink sometimes is because they're in a scenario they don't want to be in, and so they use it to just escape. It's like an escapism tactic to just be like, oh, I can just get drunk. I think that's like something, one, finding ways to limit situations you don't want to be in, key. Two, if you have to be in a situation that you don't want to be in, you need to kind of like come to terms with it, make peace with it, and like be like, I'm not relying on a crutch to get me through this. I'm just gonna like do what I gotta do and get out as fast as I can. That's my strategy.
Period. And on that note, I do have fun favorites as well, beautiful.
Oh.
Okay, so, on theme. What's your favorite alcoholic drink?
I knew you were
But then also, what's your favorite non-alcoholic drink? You probably didn't see that coming.
Oh, she said balance, baby.
Said balance.
My favorite alcoholic drink right now, I think it is a espresso martini. I gotta say, it goes in hand with my favorite non-alcoholic drink, which is coffee. But listen, I do not recommend drinking espresso martinis every time you go out. Frankly, deeply limit that. But there's really no better feeling than having an espresso martini. I feel like I'm going, fully writing off everything I just said in this episode. But that shit slaps so good. And something about having, caffeine and alcohol together is great. But it's super dangerous and only have one.
Right. I also love a good espresso martini, but I also really love a Moscow Mule / or mojito. Really anything with mint in it, I'm kind of sold. And then my favorite non-alcoholic drink has got to be Coke. I just am really on a Coke kick right now.
Wait, that's your favorite?
I mean, yeah, I don't really count coffee because, I can't, make a choice, when I'm in an alcoholic, if there's a situation with alcohol.
Was this supposed to be, a replacement?
No, it doesn't have to be a replacement.
Okay.
But, I knew you were going to say coffee. Yeah. So I expected that.
I just hate soda, so I don't
You don't
know.
like soda. That's, the problem.
That's another issue for me is, when I'm out and I want to switch to something, I'm
You should just get a water with lime.
That also, I just want water. That's why I just
you
drink water.
Like water with lime?
I don't like water with anything. I just want water.
Okay, slide. Just say it's
I don't want sparkling water. I just want tap.
Okay, that's fire.
I need some ice cubes.
Okay, slay. Anyway, yeah, I gotta say Coke and then a good old Moscow Mule / mojito. And on that note, we think we were alcoholed out. And it's 11 a.m. in the morning.
I don't want to talk about alcohol anymore. Next. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye. See you next week.